41.
Remember the goal.
Okay.
The goal is to talk me out of my sunglasses.
Cameras A, B, C.
Okay?
So my question is, how do you see this rise of populism, Brexit, Trump, and why did you decide to do an album full of values and progress like this?
That's a lot of questions.
Yes.
Because there are not enough voices. Seriously, I don't think enough people, not just singers or entertainers, I think there aren't enough high-profile individuals, human beings, who are speaking up and using their power, their potency, their platforms to make change, to affect change, to inspire change. I think most people are more concerned with being popular and not rocking the boat too much. I actually don't know a lot of people in my business that are outspoken and political, maybe a handful. And I think, every time all governments and history repeats itself. So right now, we're going into a period of extreme right, extreme conservatism, extreme narrow-minded thinking, and it's a reaction. Everything's a reaction. So when remember after World War II, and there was whenever there's great poverty or economic crisis, people have a tendency to become extremely scared and blame it on other people, blame it on immigration, or blame it on people who are different. Yes. And they have to find a scapegoat. And that's why I say in Dark Ballet, I say, yes, the enemy is inside of us. Can't you hear the wind blowing outside of your Supreme hoodie? Basically making fun of the fact that we are, obsessed with material things, but also that we are in a constant state of blaming others for what's going on in the world, rather than looking inside of ourselves and saying, what can I do to make the world a better place? What am I doing? When's the last time I did something generous for another individual without expecting anything in return?
That nowadays, women, which are gaining a new role, and even a new standards of beauty, more free, without stereotype, but at the same time, a kind of misogyny is still present in our world.
Right, so I understand what you're saying. So it looks like the paradox is that women seem more free to sexualize or objectify themselves, yes, the way that they want to, but it seems like what they're actually doing is trying to please men. And what a man's stereotype is. So on the one hand, it seems like they're free, but on the other hand, it also seems like they're perpetuating a stereotype of beauty, one stereotype of beauty that men like, rather than having a variety of stereotypes, a variety of examples of beauty.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
We're still falling back into that rut. Oh, you like it? Okay, I want to stay that way. Okay, I want to keep it that way. Okay, I want to look that way that everyone wants me to look. It's just, that's, in the 60s, everyone wanted to look like Twiggy, right? Everyone wanted to be like this, like a pencil. Now everyone wants to look like Kim Kardashian.
Yes.
So, so there are different standards of beauty that go, through time, and it's very hard, I think, for women, because we still live in a very sexist, misogynist society that is run by, men, and decisions are made by men, and inevitably women unconsciously find themselves in the position of wanting to please men, even if they're not thinking that they want to.
How did you encourage yourself to be yourself and not what others want you to be?
Well, by not being accepted, because rejection is what makes you grow, and resistance and being told no and having the door slammed in your face is what makes you push back and say, I will, I can, I'll show you. So if everyone's always opening the door for you and telling you that you're beautiful and you're wonderful and you're perfect and you're a genius or whatever, what do you have to strive for? So the best thing that can happen to you as you're growing up is to feel like an outsider and to feel like you don't fit in. And then that way, you have to make your own way. You have to find your own path. You have to find your own voice.
You are using a lot social media in a very, good way.
I hope.
And my first question is, how do you respond to haters? So to people that trying to put you down and to undermine your even values or your progress?
I feel sorry for them. And I know that oftentimes people are saying things because they're afraid. They're saying things because it's unfamiliar. They're saying things because they're envious. They're saying things because they get attention. And they don't actually believe it. I don't believe the haters.
Wow, so they don't touch you.
No.
I read that for you, life was really better before iPhone.
Yes.
Why?
Because people talk to each other, and because you could walk into a room full of people and everyone's looking into each other's eyes at the dinner table, in a room, at a party. Now you go out and everyone's looking at their phone and not talking to each other. And that's one thing from a social perspective, but also from a creative perspective. It was great to be able to develop as an artist, a singer, a songwriter, to develop my own style, to what I wanted to look like, dress like. Everything was, I just did it on my own. I didn't have anything to compare myself to. I didn't have any pressure from the outside world. There was nothing to look at.
In Extreme Occident, you use a beautiful words that are lucidity and craziness. And can you tell me more about this? Because they are very...
Yes,
very...
I can. Yeah, that's one of my favorite songs on my record, so I'm going to look you in the eye now and tell you. Lucidity and craziness, because that's what happens when you wake up to life and you create. You are channeling energy and magic from the upper worlds, from the metaphysical world. And so it makes you feel very clear, and it makes you feel very crazy. So that's the, again, paradox of creativity, creation. Because think about it, Adam and Eve, what God created, man and woman, and look what happened.
I want to ask you something about Michael Jackson. Sometimes we have to separate art from the artists. And sometimes we, in these days, we are losing some artists because of what they have done in their life. Do you think it's a good thing or a bad thing to separate art from the artist?
It's hard to separate because when you're an artist, you are expressing an aspect of yourself. But in another way, you have to. Because I can think of lots of incredible artists who were probably not very nice fathers, for instance,
Yes.
And they would say that to you. Like, I remember watching a documentary about Marlon Brando, who is an absolute genius and an incredible man. But he would tell you on camera that he was the worst husband in the world and not kind to women. So, but that doesn't make me appreciate him less as an actor and also as a political activist and the things that he fought for in the civil rights movement, for instance, or what he did for the Native American Indians, because We're all human. None of us are perfect.
I just want to say that in this very dark period, and it's quite dark.
The Middle Ages that we're slipping back into.
Yes, a kind
Yes.
of. Your new
Where
album.
people don't write anymore or read.
Yes.
Yeah.
Your album seems really a ray of light, and it's very courageous.
Thank you.
It's really, really very courageous. So, and I think that these kind of values are really important, and to raise your voice, and your voice has a relevance, it's really, really important.
Thank you.
So, thank you for your time.
Prego.